On today's show, we talk alternative investing options. We have the hockey card stock exchange and a sports card theft that went terribly. This is episode 33 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. This is episode 33 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast powered by Slab Sharks with myself, Mike Distefano and Anthony Santini. We're a weekly Wednesday show diving deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. You can find us on YouTube and also up on Spotify for you on-the-go listeners and soon to be up on Apple Podcasts as well. We'll let you know when that happens. What's going on, Ant? How you doing?
What's up, buddy? Feeling pretty good right now. Was actually watching a little bit of hockey before. Been watching a pretty good show. I don't know if you ever heard it. It's called Snowfall. But
No.
I've been working my way through that show the past couple weeks, and I actually have the last episode of the entire show waiting for me on the other side of this podcast. So I'm eager to pop some corn later on and get after that.
Yo, are you a microwave popcorn guy? The way you said that, like, are you a stovetop popcorn guy?
I mean, so to be honest with you, I used to put the kernels on like a frying pan, a little bit of oil, a little bit of butter, a little bit of salt, and I did that at school for a little bit. But then when I got home, my parents didn't really like the smell of that popcorn popping, so that pretty much got shut down after the first attempt. But I mean, at school, it was pretty much just as easy as making it. Someone walks down and they're like, "Hey, what's that smell?" "Oh yeah, sure, I'd love a bowl." Now, my
Yeah,
parents definitely didn't have the same eager hunger to try that as my roommates did. So
I'm a stovetop popcorn guy through and
okay,
through. I
okay.
am. I make a mean bowl of popcorn. I really, really do. Let us. Are you guys team stovetop popcorn or team microwave popcorn? Let us know in the comment section down below. The hard hitting questions here on the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Man, I've been getting my popcorn ready though to watch some hockey that we've seen recently. There's been some really, really good games that have been ongoing. That Edmonton Florida game the other night was absolutely spectacular. Like, there's just a lot of really good hockey being played right now. And we've got a fun show lined up for all you guys today. We are going to get into the hockey card stock exchange, who's trending upward, who's trending downward in the hobby. We'll get to that. But a really interesting thing happened over the weekend, Anthony. You and I were both at the M&L Card Show in St. Catharines. I was set up. You were there as an attending patron. And your buddy Eric Wilson, who's the other half of Sports Cards GTA. I know a lot of people probably don't know that you and him kind of do it together as like your a business, what you want to call it, but he's your partner, we'll call it, when it comes to sports cards. And he made an interesting investment, an interesting play over the weekend where he bought out a table, Anthony. And this is an alternative investment strategy that I don't think we've brought to the table or talked about on the show. So I thought it'd be a really good idea to get Eric on to talk about, what made him pull the trigger on purchasing this table. What is he expecting out of it? What is his strategy to move the cards, whether it's eBay, whether it's through flipping at shows or whatever it may be. So we got a really good conversation with Eric, kind of ready to go for you guys today. But I am curious, like, to get your thoughts on that strategy, Anthony. Is it something that you've done before? Have you done collection buys or table buys, like that alternative form of investing that's not just flipping single cards?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a couple times where I've bought out a person's table, or I guess you could say their collection, whatever it might be. Three times it really happened where it was learning. There was some growth that happened to it. One time I bought it at a show. I bought someone's table, similar like Eric did. The second time I bought out a collection from an individual on Facebook. That was one of my first big deals when I first started. And the last time was a big deal I did also through Facebook that didn't go as well. A lot of low end stuff. It was really disappointing and borderline a scam, if I want to call it. And I basically did get scammed. And 2 out of 3 times it went really well. It was a success. but it's all about taking that risk and buying the collection rather than looking through every single card, comping out every single card to the dollar, to calculating whatever it might be for everything, which is the frustrating part when you are looking to sell your collection. But if you're able to find someone that could just buy out everything all in one shot, it makes it so much easier. And I think that is what Eric talks about too, where he goes into detail a little bit about why it was beneficial for him.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about, the annoyances that could be going through logging your cards, pricing out your cards and all of that, but knowledge is power, right? And it does give you a better understanding of the market when you do stuff like that, because now you have a pretty good understanding of what pretty well everything is worth. Like if you buy out a collection, there's a good chance that there's a good variety of stuff, whether it's, ultra modern, modern, game use stuff, whether it's autograph stuff, jersey stuff, whether it's just low numbered things, anything that could be short print, super short print. You can kind of learn about that stuff. Like I talked about it with Eric in the interview that he and I are up. I'm about to show everybody. We already did it, but I'm about to play it for you guys. And I was talking about, this investment that I had made into someone's collection. They were trying to get rid of all of their, kind of inserts and stuff. And it was kind of a low end buy, but it was a massive, like 5,000 count box of just some low end stuff. It was basically at like a quarter a card, basically. And so I bought it. I thought, okay, let's just buy it and let's have some fun. We'll see if there's any goodies in there. And for the most part, there weren't. It was cards that were worth, about $1 or so a piece. But, it's going to take you a long time to move that stuff to get your money back. But in the rough was an SSP, very short printed card that looked like a common base card, but it was not. And those are the types of finds, and that's kind of the gamble you're taking. You're hoping you find one of those diamond in the rough cards that the person who sold it to you realistically didn't know what it was, but because you are doing the research, you're putting in the work and comping and looking up every card you have, because you got to make sure that you know what you're buying. In that process, I was able to uncover a card that paid for the entire box, and then everything else became gravy. So those are kind of the benefits to doing that. You're just hoping that you find a couple of big cards in a collection that can pay for the majority of it, and then the lower end stuff is pretty much the gravy where you can make your money off of that. That's kind of the strategy, I guess, to those type of buys, whether it's a table or a collection, or someone off marketplace who's trying to get rid of a bunch of their stuff. But it is an alternative investment flipping strategy that you could have. It's not always just about buying singles. It's not always just about buying raw and then grading and flipping. There's multiple ways that you can invest in sports cards and in hockey cards. And we caught up with your boy Eric, and unfortunately, we'll call it technical difficulties. You were unable to join us for the interview, so it was just Eric and I. But why don't we go ahead and throw to that interview right now, and then we could chat about it on the other side and get your thoughts on it. So here is the better half of Sports Cards GTA. It's Anthony's boy Eric Wilson joining us next here on the Locked On or here on the Hockey Card Haven podcast. All right, joining us now on the show today, we got Eric Wilson, one half of Sports Cards GTA, or Anthony's better half, as I like to call it. Thank you for joining us today, Eric. What's going on, pal?
What's going on? Long overdue to have me on the pod. I'm so happy to be here and chat cards. I mean, lots going on, but at the same time, just nothing beats some good hockey, especially last night, Florida Edmonton. So yeah, nothing crazy new. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, I want to get you on specifically because, we talk a lot about sports cards and buying singles and flipping and all that, but you did something really interesting over the weekend, and it's not the first time that you've done this. So I just want to talk about an alternative kind of buying strategy, I guess. So you were at the M&L card show in St. Catharines this past weekend, and you bought a guy's table. You flat out just bought the dude out of everything he had and bought the table. Um, Why does like has this strategy worked for you in the past, and like what made you want to buy this table?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I've kind of thought about when I, you know, have bought haven't bought too many tables, but because this was a guy who I've seen before at the shows and I knew was local to the MNL show. It was kind of easy to, say, "Hey, how's it going? What are you looking to do today?" I think he knew that I was looking to pick up some new cards that were, call it, modern in the last couple of years, and he's a very organized dealer, so he had everything kind of priced out, in boxes, in top loaders, in uh, one touches for some things as well, and it made it very easy to just pick out what was, call it, high end, high quality versus low end, low quality. And when I really put it together for not just Sunday but other times, it it just made more sense to take the table rather than nitpicking between certain players and cards.
So how many cards would you say you ended up with by buying this guy? Like, give us a rough estimate how many cards you actually bought here. Like, essentially, you bought a collection. You bought the guy's entire collections. Like, how many cards was it?
Honestly, I would say, um, I want to say around 1,500 cards.
Wow.
It was over 1,000, but it wasn't like wasn't didn't hit the 2,000 mark.
Yeah, but still a decent amount of cards, and like you said, ranging from low to mid. Like, was there any like, have you had a chance to go through it? I know it was only a couple of days ago, but have you had a chance to go through the table at all? Go through the cards that you picked up? Were there any nice little hidden gems in there?
You know what? So I was really hoping for the hidden gems and stuff, and I found that there were a lot of cool kind of PC cards. One that Sans is really gonna like. It's a cool Patrick Kane card. And then a couple cool like Dazzler cards. Color matches, things like that. In terms of like the high end stuff, nothing that I really didn't see before, but a lot of things that I really considered the pop count on, and I know you're really big into pop counts and rarity of hitting things when you rip and stuff. So I do have some cards with me from that I was excited, and I obviously saw them when I did buy the table. But like I said, it just kind of made sense, and I was happy to have everything in not only top loaders but in like team bags as well, and that was another reason why I was happy to buy the table. So
Well, see, you got them on you right now. A couple of the big cards that you kind of pulled out. Why don't you give us a little show? Show us what
yeah,
you
yeah,
got.
perfect timing. I'll start it off here with a young guy. I'll just start with the one touch cards. But to start it off here, a nice Braden Schneider card. It'll be a little tough to see with the lighting, but it's a Braden Schneider exclusive. Um, Call it like a Young Guns draft day card.
Yeah,
And it's the 100 out of 100. So just a kind of a cool last print there.
cool.
Um, Moving on to a guy who we talk about, or I talk about him too much. I know Sans is a huge fan of him, but nice Austin Matthews gold stockpile here. So I believe these are one in every. It says 240. I'm gonna assume that's packs, but uh,
Right.
a cool card that like I have
I don't even know.
pulled gold
I
stock.
don't even know what does that come. What's that out of? I don't even know what that is.
So it's from 2022 Upper Deck. I don't know what box, so I think they're from the
Like
regular like
like
series
series
one, series
one,
two.
series two. It's like a
Yeah,
flagship insert there.
yeah, something kind of
Ooh,
cool. And he actually had a few other guys, nothing big, maybe like a Heiskanen and like a Harley or something too. But I'm like, why not show a Matthews for the viewers there as well?
makes sense.
I'll get into a very cool one here, and this is a current Bruin actually, Parker Watherspoon, and this is a Young Guns acetate gold.
Oh,
Uh,
very nice.
and so I believe these are, I guess, SSPs, so super short print. And so he's a Bruin, he's kind of their sixth defenseman. But I thought, that cool Isles jersey, it just was pretty fire card, pretty nice card there. And to kind of go with that, there was a nice Michael Carcone acetate there, and that's, I guess, just the regular acetate.
And even those are like super short print. Like, there's not a lot of acetates out there. I know that the guys on the Gong Show, like Loud Phil, a couple of times he's tried to figure out how many. He's a big Brady Kachuk collector. How many Brady Kachuk
Mm.
acetate Young Guns are out there? And he's of the belief, based on the information and research he's done, that there's only like 25 Young Guns acetates per player. Like he
Yeah.
believes
Oh,
it's that
geez.
low, which means that gold one is probably like, dude, there might only be 5 or 10 of those.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
you've
say
got some
somewhere in that, less
super
than a
rare.
dozen, hopefully.
Yeah, like you've got some super rare cards that you were able to get out of that. And they're not big players, but they're rare cards. And if you
Yeah.
find, someone who's a collector of some kind. So I guess the next question is like, so you did this hoping to, obviously, you did it as an investment. You're investing in this guy's table. You're hoping to find some cards that will make you some money. So like, what's your
Mm.
strategy going to be to move some of this stuff, both the low end and the more higher end unique cards like that?
Yeah, so I think strategy's, you know, just insanely important. I've made mistakes in the past where I, didn't strategically plan, and I kind of just wanted to sell stuff, and it didn't work out as best as I could have made it. But I think that the majority, call it 75% of the table slash collection, is going to be stuff that will be brought to the next expo that we set up at. And I know obviously you'll be either set up with us or at the table beside us. So it'll be a nice way to kind of separate the high end from the low end. But knowing what high end I have already, it kind of just is going to add so any collector can come up and feel like they can purchase something in the low range or high end range as well.
So you looking to move any of it on eBay, or you just strictly gonna try and move it all in hand and person to person through shows and trades and all that? Or
Yeah,
any
I think I'll kind of
Instagram, Facebook groups?
Yeah, I think the Facebook groups will be good for the rare stuff. I think when I throw stuff up on eBay and it's rare, I think it's really good to get watchers and stuff and maybe assess how much it's worth. But in terms of actually moving it on eBay, I find that to be a struggle sometimes with those rare acetates. One being like a Braden Point acetate, which I still haven't moved to this day. So, um,
It's a nice card.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice
So
card
again,
to own, though.
I know, I know. So you know what I think? I think, like you said, with a few of the cards, I will throw them up on eBay. Especially with the strike ending today, that was pretty good news too.
Yes.
And I guess I will show this kind of last one here that I don't think I got to show you in person, but it is the Mulreach Cider Easter Egg SSP Young Guns. So
Oh, you just read that's a neat that is a hidden gem. I would consider that a big time hidden gem because those are super short print. The
yeah,
0102 versions.
I know. I was itching to tell you, and I should have showed you earlier in the stream, but that was kind of the one card where I'm like I can put that aside and kind of base my investment off of that, you know?
Well, that's a type of card that, like, I don't even know if the guy knew what he had. If like, based on everything that was on in that collection, that you randomly had that one Mo Sider, it's like he may not have realized what he had there, which is
Yeah.
interesting. And that's sometimes the point of buying up those tables and buying collections. It's like, can I find the diamond in the rough? Like I did that before, where I purchased a collection. It was just a massive lot of like inserts and whatnot, and within that was a super, super short print card that looked like a regular everyday insert card, but it actually wasn't. It was super, super short print. There's like less than 10 of them in the
Oh yeah.
world. And it turned out to be like a $400 card. I bought the collection for like $300.
Oh
So the
wow.
card itself paid for everything, and everything else is just gravy on top. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what you're hoping for. Like, that's what we talk about: alternative
Yeah.
investing, table buying, collection buying. That's another way to kind of invest. Yes, you can buy the singles and you could flip those, and that's one way to do it. It's probably a less riskier way, a risk adverse way to do it, I suppose. But then there's, alternative ways, and sometimes the more fun strategies, like buying a table and then going through and seeing what exactly is in there. Are there any
Yeah.
diamonds in the rough that you missed, or that the person didn't realize what they had? Not that you ripped them off or anything, but I mean, if they don't realize that what they have is a super short print
Yes.
card, they thought it was a regular insert. I mean, whatever. They probably would have sold it for $10 to some other sucker. So, well,
Exactly.
I
And
guess not
and
a
yeah.
sucker. They would have been very smart to buy that for $10 realistically.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's an awesome strategy. It's not one that I've done before. I haven't done the table buy. I feel
Mhm.
like, did you walk out of this show with a little pep in your step? Like
Oh
when
yeah.
you go in there and you buy a table, like you're flexing some muscles there, pal.
A little bit. Honestly, it's been too long, and I think that's why I had the pep in my step. I think it had been at least at least 14, 15 months. So way too long. I was a bit on the selling side for the last few months, which never hurts, but feels good to walk out with more than just your little box of cards that you bring, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw you ended up making a couple of trips to the car
Yeah.
after the show, and like I said, I saw a little swagger to your walk afterwards. You're like, yeah, I just did that,
Yeah. A
and
little
you
pep in the
walked out.
step. Yeah.
Well, good luck with the sale, man. Hopefully everything goes well for you and you do really well. Again, man, appreciate you taking the time to joining me to chat about it, and we'll have to get you back on at some point to tell us how this investment went for you.
Yeah.
And
I'd love
get
to.
you. Well, just gotta get your thoughts on the market overall. I know you got a jet, so we only had a few minutes to chat, but I'm glad we did. And we'll have to have you back on the show in the next couple of months here, and Anthony will certainly be on with us when we do that too.
For sure. Yeah, I think the hobby talk will come soon. I'd love to chime in on the actual hobby talk and hockey cards, investments, all that stuff. And I mean, it's a great time of the hockey season. We got World Juniors coming up, 4 nations. So
Yep.
um you couldn't have said it better. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I'll be a familiar face. I'll be back on. So thanks,
For
Mike.
sure. For sure, man. The hobby's buzzing. So's Eric Wilson, one half of Sports Cards GTA, the better half, I like to say.
Hey,
And yeah, you can follow him on Instagram, and he's always got story sales. And any of those cards that just popped up that he showed you, including the Mo Sider, hit him up. I guarantee you, he'll be willing to talk. That's for sure. Appreciate
hey,
it, Eric.
hit us up. Only one half of Sports Card GTA. But yeah, appreciate it. Have a good one.
Absolutely. All right, Mike and Anthony back here, and thank you once again to Eric Wilson. Go obviously find him or well, just make sure you say hi. I guess if you're following Anthony in Sports Cards GTA, you're technically also following Eric and his sports card account. But just make sure you're saying hello whenever you catch him around at any shows. He's always on the prowl within all these GTA shows and at the expo and all that. So make sure you say hello next time you see him. Anything kind of stick out to you in that conversation that Eric and I had, Anthony?
I mean, that final card that he pulled out, that cider card, was one of those diamond in the rough cards that you wouldn't expect, even just for a usual collector that likes to go on shows on Sundays. You see a cider Young Guns, you think, okay, I already know he's a good player. His Young Guns is worth about $20, $30, we could call it. And I know that there's all kinds of different variations and retros and retro Young Guns that usually retro Young Guns only go for what, maybe a buck, $2, $3, and they're not very sought after. But Eric, as a collector, buying out a collection, he had the knowledge to know that this was actually an Easter egg. And an Easter egg Moritz cider is obviously much more valuable than even just the Young Guns itself. So that was something that, like you mentioned too, when you bought out of a collection, you can sometimes find one single card that pays for everything, if not a majority of a collection buy. So being able to build your knowledge, learn, look around the show, and kind of have that gut instinct too. I don't think it was something that Eric mentioned off the interview, but talking to him driving home, it was kind of just his gut instinct that told him, you know what, it seems fair, it looks fair, let's just pull the trigger here and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna work out for him. But based on what he paid for it, based on some of the cards that I've seen, it's stuff that can move. Like there's some liquid stuff, and his strategy is to bring it to an expo. And I mean, you and I both saw when you're set up at the expo, that's the type of stuff that moves, right? That little stuff that's under $50, stuff is usually what you're able to get biters on when it comes to setting up at the expo. So good luck to our boy Eric. Hopefully he does really well on that investment. Let us know down below if you've made a big time table buy or a collection buy, and did you find a nice diamond in the rough card that you were unexpected to find that pretty much paid for the table, if not more. Yeah, let us know in the comment section below. Would love to hear all about it. All right, Anthony, let's get to the Hockey Card Stock Exchange. This is a segment we love to do here on the Hockey Card Haven podcast, taking a look at some player stocks who are trending up and some player stocks that are trending downward. We'll start in the positive direction and talk about a couple of guys who are heading in the right direction. You want to start things off here? Who's stocking up right now for you, Anthony?
Right now, I wanted to build off the conversation from last week, and he was the guy that he's in everyone's conversation to win the Vezina this year. It's Connor Hellebuck, and right now he's in my trending up for the Hockey Card Stock Exchange. Connor Hellebuck, a pop 523 for his Young Guns PSA 10. We talked about how undervalued his raw is and also his PSA 10 because that's not the highest pop count that we've seen from some of these better players in the NHL. So Connor Hellebuck, definitely a guy that I think even has more room to grow. As of right now, sales average around $175 Canadian this month. And just 3 months ago at the start of the season, averaged about $100. For a guy right now, he's leading all goaltenders in save percentage, goals against average, and shutouts. And I want to say that with an asterisk because I know that Anthony Stolarz is in front of him in save percentage by 0.001. But
Yeah,
as of right now, with Stolarz going down, we know Hellebuck's going to pass him, and he's going to be the top dog. So Connor Hellebuck's my trending up. I think there's a lot of room for him to grow too.
4 to 6 week injury, by the way, for Anthony Stolarz. We jinxed him. We talked about him last week popping off and how there was room to grow. Maybe that was an investment worth making if you see some raw young guns or you see some rookie autos or something. And of course, a couple days later, knee injury, and we find out 4 to 6 weeks. So I think the Stolarz market's going to settle. Speaking of, but Hellebuck, that guy is definitely stocking up. $175 too. Like, think about. That's basically the price that you're paying right now for a Vasilevsky raw. A raw Vasilevsky. You can get a PSA 10 Connor Hellebuck for the same price. Like, doesn't that kind of seem wild to you?
That's where it comes from too. Like even our conversation last week, if you haven't heard, make sure you tune in where we go into a little bit more detail about the goaltending market. And to touch up back on Stolarz too, I feel like we did jinx it. A little side note, I do have him on my fantasy team. I mention all the time about my fantasy team, and in our little group chat, we always do whenever a player is playing well, we spam their photo, like a little bit of like a mugshot, and a special shout out who actually could be in the trending up column right now, Patrick Laine, who in our group chat got the triple mugshot right there. I don't know if you could see that, but we got Patrick Laine who scored a hat trick tonight. So shout out to Laine. And yeah, I think Connor Hellebuck's a really easy pick for my trending up.
Completely agree. I would definitely look into Hellebuck's market for sure. All right, my trending up, stocking up player this week is none other than Dylan Strome. Dylan Strome is a 16-17 Series 2 Young Guns, and he has been absolutely lighting it up with the Washington Capitals, having a career year. Started out with Ovechkin, and he was riding shotgun with him. They were playing really well off each other, and then Ovi goes down, and Dylan Strome continued to play at an elite pace. He's got 11 goals, 27 assists, 38 points in just 30 games, and this guy is trending way, way up. His PSA 10 pop count, just 197, so super low pop for Dylan Strome. His Young Guns, PSA 10 Young Guns, at the beginning of the season on October 2nd, there was a sale for $42. $42 for Dylan Strome PSA 10 Young Guns. It's now up to 73. So up 75% since October 2nd. And $73 seems pretty cheap for a PSA 10 Dylan Strome. I do got to say, raw, they're still pretty cheap too, between, 15 or so dollars for a raw young gun, where you could get them in the $5 range earlier in the year. But I was even taking a look. There was a Future Watch auto sale the other day for $69, and you could pick this up before the season for as low as $18. There was a couple of sales in that range, sub $20. So you're talking about an easy 3.5x of his Future Watch auto as well. Dylan Strome is somebody who is certainly stocking upward, Anthony.
Yeah, I even saw, and shout out to our sponsor here, Slab Sharks, on auction last week. I was watching a Dylan Strome Future Watch PSA 10 that sold $146. And I saw that sale that you noted, 68, $69, I believe you said, for a raw Dylan Strome
73.
Future Watch.
Oh,
73.
69, 69. Yeah, for the Future Watch, 69.
Right, and even for that sale in a raw to be that high, but then the PSA 10 going for 146, that's why I did have it on my watch list. I thought that sold a little bit cheaper than I expected it to, but even right now, a guy who's playing absolutely outstanding. I've seen a little bit of regression with Connor McMichael from the start that he's had, and I expected that to come for Dylan Strome once Ovi went down, but it's still Dylan Strome's world right now, and we're just living in it because the Washington Capitals playing out of their minds. They're up 2-0 right now on the Chicago Blackhawks and actually ranked number 1 for power rankings by TSN reported
Well,
last
they're
night. So
in terms of points percentage, they're number 1 in the league as of now.
it's unreal. They're just right up there. Everyone's looking above.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been a massive year for that team, and a lot of guys are stocking up, obviously, on the Washington Capitals. But Dylan Strome, to me, that's one of the bigger ones. 75% increase since October 2nd. That's pretty good. If you would have bought some Dylan Stromes, a couple PSA 10 Young Guns for $40 back on October 2nd, you're loving life right now. You're celebrating. You could buy yourself a couple of steak dinners with your profits, that's for sure. But what goes up must come down. Couple of stocking down candidates. Anthony, give me yours.
So for first, my stalking down candidate is going to be Jason Robertson, a person that I thought 2 seasons ago was going to be the guy moving forward, especially in the hobby. I thought he was going to be a needle pusher for sure in the hobby just because people collected him. I'll never forget when he was in the Hart Trophy conversations. It feels like every year in November, there's always someone new that kind of fiddles in. 3 years ago, it was Robertson. Last year, it was Jack Hughes before he got injured, and that Devils team was just unreal. And this year, it was Kirill Kaprizov for me. But Jason Robertson, right now, his Young Guns PSA 10, a pop 1,500, 1,545. It's down 40% from the start of the season. And sales are averaging around $100 in the last month and a half from when I was looking. The one question I have though is Jason Robertson's market a little bit of a market to keep an eye on still? Because I know people are starting to dump him. $100 for a PSA 10. That card used to go for 220, 240.
Oh,
And he
this was I think at a like Robertson Raw Young Guns. Now, granted, this was like kind of when the boom was and things were kind of at a astronomically high, but like Jason Robertson was selling for like 80 to there was probably sales in the $100 range
yeah,
for
there
all
was.
day long.
I bought one. I remember, so 100%.
Yeah. So 80 to $100 for a raw all day long. Now you can get a PSA 10 at that same price. It's crazy. Now, I will say this, he is not scoring at the rate that he was a couple of years ago. So the play has dipped, which is obviously the biggest reason for why, the market has dipped. And I wonder too how much of it also has to do with the fact that, the market's kind of moved on to like Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven as like the new sexy picks, new sexy collection, collectible cards, collectible players for the Dallas Stars.
I think the only reason why is because they're so offensively talented. But with that being said, why has Robertson's market? Everyone seems to turn away from them. I can't understand
But
it
that's
right
what
now.
that's what I'm saying. It's because of that. Because so there's only enough like all Dallas Stars collectors instead of buying Jason Robertson and drumming up the demand for Jason Robertson. Now they're buying Stankoven and they're buying Wyatt Johnston. And there's just
I
not as
mean,
many buyers for the Robertson and supply demand. We know how it works.
I still think though, like my take to it is because they're so offensively talented, there's new players coming in, out, in, out. There's still good players on this team. And I know you could look elsewhere. The number one comparison for at least this team to take a look at it, it reminds me of the Montreal Canadiens, a team that's just as offensively talented, great players on that team, but there's always new players cycling in and out that people can collect. Obviously, with them, you have Nick Suzuki, and then you got Cole Caulfield, and then Slavkovsky comes in, and then Lane Hudson now is on the prowl. And then we turn it over to the Dallas Stars. We had Robertson, Heiskanen. Now you got your Wyatt Johnsons. Now you got your Logan Stankovens, who's had a great year right now, making a case for the Calder, even though that's another separate conversation with some great talent with that. But I'm buying Jason Robertson right now. If I could pick up his Young Guns PSA 10s for $100, I'm not giving up on him just yet. I still think 13 points in the last 15 games. He is a little bit of a buy low candidate, but for right now, he's trending down.
Did you just say that the Dallas Stars and Montreal Canadiens are even, like, when it comes to goal scoring talents?
I mean, when it comes to hobby collectability, I think the comparison is very
Okay.
fair.
Maybe hobby. So you're not talking about like actual on ice
No,
talent.
no,
You're
no.
talking
I'm
the
just
fact.
talking about I'm talking about the collectability of Suzuki, and then how people in the hobby might look at a particular player, start buying them like crazy, and then
But
it flips
again,
over to the next, and then buying
but
them like
but
crazy.
think about how much higher of a market cap is on Montreal
I agree.
Canadiens players
I
than
agree.
the Dallas Stars. Like Montreal's market, they can support 3 or 4, stars at a time. It just can't. There's just so many people out there, and we all know that Montreal, man, they love their hockey cards in in that city. Love their hockey cards. I don't think that's the case in Dallas. So I don't know if it's necessarily an apples to apples comparison. I get it in terms of like we're talking stars, like there's like 4 good stars on each team.
Yeah.
Sure, you can look at it that way. But we're talking about a market perspective, like a market like Montreal's heads and shoulders above the Dallas Stars. So I don't even know if you could use that as a proper, comparison, to be quite honest with you. But I at the end of the day, you look at Jason Robertson, he's still a great player. $100 does seem low. I still think that definitely seems low, and it's down 40% since the start of the season, as you said. And he's starting to heat up though. Like he's starting to kind of put the puck in the back of the net a little bit. So if if anything, I think I look at Dallas and I think to myself, okay, this is at least a team that I could see making it far in the playoffs. And that's usually when the market really goes boom. So you could speculate on a Robertson doing really, really well in the playoffs. We saw what happened to, Wyatt Johnson's market last year when he got red hot in the playoffs. Same thing could happen for Jason Robertson. So $100 is a pretty decent low risk gamble at this point. It'd be tough for it to go down if he continues to at least put away, 30 to 40 goals a season as he's done pretty much his entire career.
Yeah.
Trending downward for me though is someone who I really am not sure if he can rebound his career or his market as easily as Jason Robertson. It's Dylan Cousins. 16 or Dylan Cousins is a 2021 Series 2 Young Guns pop count of 2,137, so relatively high pop count. He has just 13 points this year, Anthony. 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points in 31 games. And you look at the PSA 10 as Young Guns year to year. So like this time last year, if you were picking up Dylan Cousins, you were spending upwards of about $100. I saw a sale at $98 on December 17th of 2023. There was a sale last week for $41. So this thing is cut in half, like more than half over the course of the last year. And it's because he just isn't performing. And the team isn't performing. The Sabres lost 10 in a row. And as we're currently recording this, I think they're on route
6-1.
to the 6-1, about to lose their 11th in a row. And Dylan Cousins, in the way that his inability to provide offense for this team this season has been a big reason for that. He was supposed to have a bounce back year after being slowed down last season. Maybe he just ain't it. Maybe he's not. Maybe he just is not the player that they thought he was. 13 points in 31 games isn't good, and his market is suffering for it. PSA 10 Future Watch Auto, again, a year ago, last December, $380 sale. Last sale was $162. So, like, it is just an absolute free fall right now for the Dylan Cousins market. And I made a mistake this past weekend. I definitely made a mistake. And look, I invested in Dylan Cousins. I bought a couple of his Young Guns at the Fall Expo last year. and I still have them because I was hoping for a rebound because he absolutely fell off a cliff after I purchased them, and he's yet to recover. And I'm just hoping that he does, and then I can try and move them. But I got offered, and to be honest with you, I got a pretty good offer this past weekend when I was at the card show. Like the last sale for a PSA 10 Young Guns, $41. I was offered. Someone said, "I'll take those off your hands, $100 for the pair," which is last comp, over last comp, and I didn't take it. I should have, because I'm not sure Dylan Cousins is going to rebound his market. Like at this point, he might be, a $50 to $60 Young Guns for the rest of his career now that he's flamed out and the team just stinks. Like realistically, the team stinks and he stinks. And it may just be a market that I should just get out of. I think if I could redo that negotiation, I think I would have took the $100 for the pair and just took the loss. I think I paid 80 a piece. So I was into him for 160. So in my head, I'm like, I'm losing, but I think I'm just ready to get out on Dylan Cousins. It's stocking down and kind of just is continuing to stock down at this point.
Yeah, he's stalking down right now. I mean, it has been a tough start to the season, but for right now, I think there's only one way that Dylan Cousins, his market can grow. And I do personally think that it is possible. I think that Dylan Cousins could get traded this season. And I know there has been so many rumblings in the past week from all these insiders saying that, a team could use a player like Dylan Cousins, that he could be a perfect fit here. He could be a perfect fit there. Here's a couple hypotheticals. And even though that is possible, and you're always going to talk that way, the one thing that really sold me was Elliot Friedman tossing out a hypothetical, which for me personally, I'm a big fan of Elliot Friedman. I always listen to his stuff. That's more or less where I get all of my information. And I believe that the validity of his information that he puts in his podcast is something to admire, because he
Oh yeah.
is an expert in his field. And he threw out a little bit of a who says no, and that was Bowen Byram and Dylan Cousins for Elias Pettersson. And I think for him to throw out, yeah,
Ew. No. Ew.
I know.
Gross.
So
Ew. No, thank you.
it,
From a Vancouver guy who grew up like it. Ew, that is disgusting. No chance. Pedersen's turned his season around. There's no shot. I know Bo Byram's like a BC kid, and they've always kind of had an eye on Bo Byram, but they can't give up Petey for Cousins and Byram. No shot.
I think too, though, that was a little bit of a lopsided trade for Buffalo to get Pettersson. That would be unreal, and only for them if they were to give up on Pettersson. A side note too, I was having a conversation with a buddy talking about teams giving up on players early on in their contracts. We were talking about Jeremy Swayman, and in comparison to Elias Pettersson, just signed long-term deals with their clubs. And some of these people are already throwing these players that just sign long-term deals into trade conversations. Like you're talking about Jeremy Swayman giving up on him. You're talking about Elias Pettersson giving up on him when these players just sign long-term extensions. It's absolutely unreal. But that hypothetical of who says no was something that for me personally had me thinking that Dylan Cousins could be on the move, because someone like Elliot Friedman and his voice doesn't just throw out a hypothetical like that, because that Bowen Byram, Dylan Cousin, and Pettersson's agents are all probably getting calls this week saying, hey, the top dog just threw this out on his podcast. Is this true? Do you guys want to move? What would you think about this? There's a lot of conversations that could happen. Personally, I think that I would collect Dylan Cousins right now, while you maybe want to be selling him. I do think that with the rumblings of him being on the move, 40, 50, even $60 for a PSA 10 is very cheap. And crap you not, I found a Dylan Cousins Young Guns in a dollar bin this weekend.
Dude,
And
I'm
I
not
picked it up.
surprised.
So for those of you that are thinking, oh, well, you can't really give up on the Canadian guy. You can't give up on him just yet. There's people giving up on him. People are trying to sell. I found him in the dollar bin. That's a perfect example. Mike's trying to sell his PSA 10 for $50. It costs you $30, $35 to grade it, and people will still sell it for $40, $50. That goes to show how easy it is to give up on a player. And I mean, for what, 10 points that he scored so far this season, 13 points in 31 games, I believe.
Yeah.
It's rightfully so, but me personally, I'm collecting Dylan Cousins right now.
But he was terrible last year too, so it's like 2 straight years, and the team is awful, and there's just no hope in sight for this club. And there's a Frank Saravalli. Like yesterday, there was a report there that Terry Pagula, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, met with the players, met with the general manager Kevin Adams, and supposedly the summary of the message was, quote, "We believe in you. The solution is within the room." Pagula professed faith in Adams, Lindy Ruff, and apparently told the players to not expect a big trade. The very next day, they're getting walloped the very next day. Was it 6-1 right now, you said, to the Montreal
6-1, yeah.
Canadiens? To the Montreal Canadiens? Really? Like, oh my goodness. You got Laine, who scored a hat trick, by the way. So stocking up, Patty Laine stocking up in that game. I will tell you that. Yeah, that's I don't know. The Buffalo Sabres is not a market that I really love right now. Anybody, Paterka's down quite significantly, Tuck's down quite significantly, Dolly, all of them are not doing very well. Even Devin Levi, who hasn't really played much in the NHL this year, not doing very well. So, yeah, I think it's just the Buffalo market in general. I'm kind of spoiled on, but we'll see. I also did want to throw out an honorable mention. The Bedsy free fall kind of continues. I was just taking a look, just taking a peek, just wanted to educate myself on his market. PSA 10 sales as low as $806 last week, and they're consistently selling in the 800s right now. PSA 10 Connor Bedard's.
I'll never forget the trade that we talked about a couple months ago. I don't know if you remember, it was Laffer making a deal, and shut up Laffer, who was on our podcast a couple months ago, I believe.
Yeah.
He made a deal where he received an Austin Matthews Young Guns and cash for a Connor Bedard Young Guns, PSA 10, both being PSA 10s.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we had this conversation on the pod or in over the phone. And we said, how is it possible that you're adding cash to Austin Matthews to trade for Connor Bedard? Now it looks like one of the smartest deals ever. And I do think that this should be the floor for Connor Bedard. It feels like this has to be the floor. I mean, we're hanging on by a thread here. But
dude, I don't. Yeah. I really don't think it is. I really do not think it is. I think the pop counts are getting out of whack, and everyone realizes it now. Like, anyone who wants one already has one. That's my point. Anyone who wants one has one. So who's buying it? There's no demand for it anymore, and the proof's in the pudding. That's why it continues to fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. I really don't think that this is the bottom until he really now again, he could turn it around and turn out to be, the greatest goal scorer in the world. But unless that happens, I think we can continue to see this thing dip even lower. Like, in my opinion, there's no reason for his PSA 10 to be worth more than Nathan McKinnon's right now. No reason whatsoever. And McKinnon's about an $800 card. So
not even that, almost $700 to $750. Like,
and you're going to tell me that McKinnon, lower pop count, better player, has a championship, he should be selling for less, $100, $200 less than Bedard? I don't think so. Like, there's no reason for it.
No,
in my
opinion. I have to agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't think we're at the bottom, man. I think we'll see Bedsy sales creep into the 6s if he doesn't turn it around. I really, really believe that. And him not making 4 nations, that might have something to do with it too, right? He doesn't have that hype of, well, we'll see what he looks like at the tournament with Crosby and with McDavid. Oh, he won't have that chance.
Oof,
do we have another bet coming? Do we see sales? Do we see sales dip below 800? I think we do. Do you want to put that bet? Do we got a wager out there?
No, I'm not going to put the bet on it because this guy's fired up. I'm not going to put the bet on it because I'm not as confident. I do think, though, that personally, for those of you that have seen a little bit of maybe if you've traded stocks before and you see the almost tip to say, okay, in a couple days, you'll see a lot of this, but then in a couple weeks, you'll see a lot of this, but then throughout 10 years, you'll see a lot of that.
This is really good for an audio podcast. This, that, this.
I am Italian, so that is my kind of form of communication either way. But for those of you that are listening through Spotify right now, I am showing a little bit of a stock chart where, daily, weekly, monthly, you're seeing a lot of volatility, a lot of movement, but throughout a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year plan, just a slow and steady increase. And I feel like that's what we're going to see through Connor Bedard's market, because we saw it through Nathan McKinnon when he first started out. That's tough couple years that he had. Everyone was kind of unsure about his market, and especially what was going to happen with him being the first overall pick. With Connor Bedard, though, I'm still fully confident he's a generational talent. I know 3, 4 weeks ago you said, well, is he? I mean, we only really saw this amazing play coming from the World Juniors, and then obviously his rookie season. We're not seeing it this year, but I still see a lot of talent in this guy. His fourth, fifth season, I think they're going to be in cup contention. That's just kind of my hot take I'm throwing out, because I think when they could build a supporting cast around Connor Bedard, he's going to be extremely collectible, one of the most collectible guys in the hobby. I think it's only going to be a matter of time, maybe a couple years, but it will happen. It will happen. Explanation mark on that.
He's on pace this year for 19 goals, 31 games into the year. 19 goals. He hasn't missed a game. He's played every game, and he's still only on pace for 19 goals.
Worst team in the league?
Yeah, you're telling me that a 19 goal scorer is worth $800? Come on, Anthony. Come on now. It's going lower. It's going lower.
All right, so for hobby news, we will
we will get to the hobby news. We can't get to the hobby news. We'll agree to disagree on the Betsy. We've always agreed to disagree on Betsy.
Of course.
But I'm just saying it's only gone down since we've started this podcast. And well, not to say someone's right, but someone's been right the whole time about it. Anyways, let's get to the hobby news. Massive news, actually. Massive news in the hobby.
Let's go. Finally.
Thank you to the government for putting these Canada Post workers back to work, ending the strike. Dude, you wouldn't believe how much. Well, you would believe, because you do. Obviously, you've been impacted yourself. But the Canada Post strike was like very, very impactful in the negative aspect when it came to the hobby. Like the amount of story sales that were not impending, the amount of shippings that weren't going out, and if you were, it cost more to ship, which means you were getting less money for your cards, which also meant people weren't buying any cards. Like it really slowed down the market with this whole Canada Post strike. But it's over now, and I fully expect it's probably going to be a gong show for the next week and into the new year. I don't even know how much of a backlog there's going to be. I'd imagine quite a bit. I don't know if you've seen any other updates on it outside of the fact that the strike is over. If you saw anything in the news or heard anything, you got any more info or anything?
So from what I've heard right now, it is Tuesday, December the 17th. Yes, Tuesday, December 17th, and they are open as of right now, but not taking in any new outgoing shipments. So I haven't prepared anything as of yet to take to the post office, just because that won't happen until Thursday. So I do think that little aspect of their plan was a smart idea, but did you have something to say here?
No. When you're done, I got a little quick card courthouse on the fly when you're done here.
So Tuesday opening, Thursday accepting shipment. I do think it's a smart transition, because you kind of have a day, 2 days to really start, getting that backlog before you can really start pushing out new inbound shipments. So I do think that's smart. But if I'm going to give them cards on Thursday, I can only imagine how many people are going out shipping Christmas cards, presents, things they've been waiting for. There is going to be a flurry of post in Canada right now, and there's only Canada Post to blame. But I haven't made a decision what I'm going to do as of right now. If I were to personally recommend, I would maybe ask your local Canada Post employee what they think when the best idea to ship items could be, because as of right now, it's all very confusing.
I mean, the thing is, like, the longer you wait, the longer like you're just gonna keep go to the back of the line. So like realistically, the sooner you go, the sooner it'll get there type of deal. But yeah, it's still gonna take a little bit longer than typical for this stuff to get sent. But here's a little impromptu courthouse, and let me know. I am maybe I don't know if I would be considered the defendant here. I think I am. I think I'm the defendant in this one, actually. So here's the situation. A couple of weeks ago, I purchased a lot off of Instagram, off of somebody, and it was like a day before no, I think it was like the day after the strike, I believe. And we're negotiating. I figured out a price I liked. We whatever made the deal. And then he said, "Okay, send the money." I sent it to him. And then after I sent it to him, he said, "Okay, I'm going to ship them when the strike is over." And
Mm,
that kind of bothered me. I wish he would have told me because I would have held off on sending him the money or at least would have sent him half or something. And then after a couple of weeks, the strike was still ongoing. And I said, "Hey, can you just send me the money back? Like it's been a while for it to be tied up. I just don't feel comfortable with the money being out there, not having the cards yet." And for whatever, I just felt like wanted to have the money back, considering he hasn't yet shipped out the cards. I had asked him to send him through FedEx instead, which he said he would, never did, and so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And that's when I
mm.
asked for the money back until the strike was over. Um, am I guilty or not guilty for asking for that
Ooh.
refund?
I mean, I personally say you're not guilty because he didn't disclose it off rip. I mean, right away, he probably should have said, wait, 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 before you send the money, don't expect this card to be shipped through anything else besides Canada Post unless the strike is done, because that seems the only fair resolution to whatever might happen. But it is a sticky situation because whoever sold you a card should have told you before, look, I'm going to do it after rather than receiving the money first. I believe you did mention that you did get the money back.
I did get the money back. He did send it to me back, and I told him. He's like, "Well, are you gonna buy the cards when the strike is over?" I said, "Yes, but I would just feel more comfortable having this money right now." And then, and it there was a couple of days there where it was, oh, my checkings and savings account, that old Kevin Hart joke, my checkings and savings account, the way that it works. So there was a couple of days where, for whatever reason, he couldn't send it. There was always an
Mhm.
excuse for a couple of days, but eventually the money did get sent back to me. But now I'm like kind of, I don't know, like I probably will still buy the cards off the guy, but I'm soured on him. Like it was just bad business practice, really
Yeah.
bad business practice. Just kind of coming up with every excuse. Yeah, I'll send you the money, and then just like doesn't. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get paid tomorrow. Oh, I gotta wait for someone to pay me. Oh, my checking account only allows me to do this. I have to go to the bank. I'm like, there was literally 4 or 5 different excuses. Eventually, I got the money, but
Hmm.
and then today messaged me, hey, you gonna buy the cards back? And now I just don't know if I want to do business with him. Like, is that where I'm guilty for, I guess, pulling it? If I pull out of the deal, does that make me guilty after all that?
I think if you pull out of the deal, if you mention to him that you'll send the money back and still buy the cards when the strike is over, then you are guilty. But if you mention to him, look, I just kind of want to have the money back and then flex the opportunity to maybe buy the card after because you didn't disclose if you were going to ship it through Canada Post, like you didn't have any communication. I think that's where, for me personally, that's would be the tell for who was right or wrong. So if it was me, I wouldn't even buy the cards. I don't know what you're buying right now. I don't know who this individual is, but either way, I just think like you said, it's almost like it's just not good business. And that's kind of what I want to pride myself a little bit more on in the new year. Just doing good business, good transactions, looking at that rather than the bottom line, I think is so important in the hobby. We talked about it last week too, the reputation. So for me personally, if you walk away from this deal, I personally would probably do that if I were in your shoes, and I will deem you not guilty of a card crime.
Well, maybe next week we'll have an update on what I decide to do. I literally got a message like an hour and a half ago about it, so we'll see how I feel, and to be continued, I guess, with this story. But yeah, the card strike is over. That was one big story, obviously, in the hobby. There was another wild story in the sports card hobby as a whole last week. Anthony, there was $500 worth of sealed sports cards stolen from a Walmart in Chattanooga. And then the story got good. So $500. Apparently, the guy went to go and pay for it with a debit card. Didn't work. So he said, screw it. I'm just going to take it. Well, there happened to be an off-duty cop who was there, who witnessed the situation, detained him, put him under arrest. And there was like a whole scene. I guess there was an innocent bystander who kind of got hurt in the process of detaining him. So after they got this gentleman in the car, supposedly the cop went to go and make sure that the bystander was okay. And in doing so, that somehow allowed this gentleman to get into the front seat of the car and steal the cop car. So not only did he break a law of theft of $500 worth of stolen sports cards essentially from a Walmart, then he really got himself in trouble. Stole a cop car, ended up on a car chase, and then totaled the car. Thing flipped like 7 times apparently, and they tried to flee the scene. Obviously, the man got caught and then was detained once again. An
Oh my God.
outrageous story. This is what's happening out in Chattanooga, man. Chattanooga.
There is no box from Walmart that would make me act that way. Absolutely not even one single blaster box where you could even probably come up on that $500 because
Dude,
that
there
is the
ain't
most
no,
appalling story ever.
no. Like this guy risked his entire life is over because he wanted $500 worth
For a
of.
little box of Goodwin's Champions.
Yeah, like, dude, and nowadays that's what, like 6 or 7 megas? Like, that's
Yeah.
nothing. That's literally nothing. $500 of Walmart goods, like Walmart sealed sports cards. That is so easy to spend that much money on sports cards nowadays. It's insane the inflation that sports cards have had. MJ Holding, especially, I don't know, up here in Canada, it's been terrible. I don't know about the States, but for us, you want to buy like a mega of let's say it's probably football and basketball. You're buying a mega, you're spending $80 to $90 for a mega box. They used to be like $40. They've literally doubled. It's insane. You got blasters you're paying now like $60 on a blaster. It's wild. They were $25 pre-pandemic. It's insane. But yeah, I thought that was just a wild story. Stolen sports cards leading into a high-speed police chase with a stolen cop car that ends with him totaling it, flipping it, and then getting placed under arrest while trying to flee the scene. Yeah,
Brutal.
those
Brutal.
cards were not worth it. I mean, the one of one, there could have been a one of one Wemby in those cards, or a one of the one of one Bedard Gold Young Guns, and that still would not be worth the what's going to happen to this gentleman.
Yep.
Anyways, one other piece of news that I wanted to get into, PSA had announced that they actually have these new die cut holders. Did you see this, Anthony? The new die cut holders that PSA will be announcing for a lot of the die cut cards, custom fit for die cuts, they're saying. Do you see these?
I saw these. The one question I had, I wasn't sure when they were actually going to start using them, but it
Mm.
looks pretty nice. The only thing I'm scared about is maybe cutting into a card or, because that's kind of the tricky part with these die cut cards.
What do you mean cutting into a card?
Like almost where you're clipping the edges of the card when you're trying to fine tool the custom the
Is that how
custom
it's
cut.
is that how it's they're doing it? Like each one is gonna be well, let me see what's it custom fits for die cuts.
Because the photo that I saw was this one right here, exactly that we're seeing on the screen for YouTube
Yeah.
listeners above with, I believe that's Ken Griffey Jr.
Yes. Yes.
And if that's the case, that is a very, very tight fit for a card that I think could be easily damaged if
Mhm.
done improperly. So that's my one take out of all of this. And if it works, I think it's going to be perfect because you see so many cards that are crooked and, all diagonal, whatever the heck's going on with all these die cuts that get graded and it looks terrible. So this could be
I
a
hate
great
that
idea.
what they do with a lot of them is they'll actually put them in a sleeve and then put them in to try and hold into the holder with the sleeve, which
Mm,
looks stupid to me. I hate it.
hmm,
But
don't love it.
yeah, I think it's a cool idea though. I mean, hopefully you're right. It doesn't damage the card, although I guess the grade it'll already be graded at that point. So even if it does damage it, well, it's already got a 10. Right?
Uh, I'd hope so. I'd hope so.
You
We'll
would
keep
hope
the eye.
so. So that is effective immediately. So if you've sent any die cut cards recently, you should be getting one of those back at some point.
Yeah.
There was also a new product that releases today. Parkhurst Champions 23-24 Parkhurst Champions releasing today. They're going for about $175 a box, 20 packs per box, 8 cards per pack, and you are guaranteed at least one autograph or memorabilia per box. So you can get a little on-card Bedsy rookie auto in this one. But there's also a lot of really cool like legends in these sets. So you can get like Gretzky autos, obviously like Ovechkin, Crosby, McDavid, Lemieux, like lots of great legends autos in this set too. So it's a cool set. I think it's one of the more slept on ones. It's mid end, I guess, low to mid end. $175 a box, but it's a fun set. So that came out today. And then Black Diamond for 24-25 coming out on January 3rd. So that'll be, one of the first big, I guess, sets of the new 24-25 class, which will have, Michkov and Celebrini and a bunch of other guys. Stankoven, Hudson should be a cool box to break into. All right, just a reminder that the Hockey Card Haven podcast is now powered by Slab Sharks, the #1 sports card consignment company in Canada. They've got thousands of listings each week, and starting now, you can hit our link and we can take some submissions from you. I know, Anthony, you've made a few drop-offs and submissions over the last couple of weeks, and you've been making some money with Slab Sharks. They always have like the top tippity top when it comes to comps, and Slab Sharks does a great job of marketing their weekly auctions every Thursday. And why don't we take a peek at a few cards that we like from this week's Thursday night auction? And I guess we'll start taking a look at your Matthews and McDavid card. So let me quickly put it right here. And yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, this was a card that, and I mean, the hardest part about going through Slab Shark auctions is picking out some of my favorites. And this was a card that, I mean, I threw right on top of the pile looking at which card I wanted to pick for my favorite this week. Obviously, a couple honorable mentions, but Ultimate Collection, one of my favorite. I absolutely love Ultimate Collection. And to see a dual auto of Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews, two of the top players in the game right now, this is an awesome, amazing card. You almost never see cards of Crosby or Ovechkin dual autos, Crosby or Lemieux, Lemieux and Gretzky, Crosby and Gretzky, all kinds of duos that you wish almost would be more fluctuating throughout the market, but I guess it makes it only better that there isn't as many going through and you're seeing them more at these shows. But this was a card, absolute no-brainer for me. Beauty card, $1,800 right now with 2 days left just about. The only thing I don't love is that these are sticker autos, but they look like I don't know. This card is just awesome to me. It was a jaw dropper. My jaw was on the floor. The autos look great. At least I'm sure they would get auto 10s. Hopefully, if graded. The only thing is that sticker auto, but everything else is just phenomenal. Like just phenomenal.
Great card. It really, really is a great card. We'll take a look at your next card here.
Next up, so I got this 101 printing plate. Kent Johnson, straight up, he's been playing amazing. Picked him up in fantasy. He's been great. And anything 101, especially printing plates, I've definitely had my eye on recently. So Kent Johnson, I still think undervalued. So $115 right now. Go pick this one up. It's a 101 and definitely rare from the cup.
So the printing plate here, hold on, is the auto and patch real?
Yes. So the auto is real and the patch is real. Yes. This is
Okay.
just
So it's just
what they
like a
do.
one of one. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's called a printing plate then. Kind of
Well,
weird.
it's because it's the printing plate behind it, I believe.
No, I know, but like it's just that they cut out the printing plate and put in.
Yeah, it's a little
Kind of
funky. I've
strange.
seen a lot of printing plates from the cup. I saw a 101 Jack Quinn this weekend for 60 bucks, I believe, and it feels so cheap. These printing plates feel so cheap, but this one right here is a crazy, unreal rookie card from the cup. 1 of 1 Kent Johnson. I mean, he's playing amazing.
Yeah, he's playing really well. He's starting to pick it up. There's a couple of guys out in Columbus that are playing well. And here's the last one that you were taking a look at over on the Slab Sharks auctions this Thursday.
Yeah, this is an easy pick. I mean, 101 Slavkovsky, massive, massive market for this guy. This is one of his premier cards. Artifact 1 of 1, an amazing patch. You got that Adidas and then 3-color patch. Another sticker auto, which everyone knows how I feel about those, but an amazing card. 480 bucks right now. Still feels super cheap and could keep growing. So try and dip your toe in right now. See what you could do, because I think all three of these cards are amazing, especially that Matthews and McDavid card is borderline a grail. I mean, it's just a grail card.
Kind of a dumb auto for Slavkovsky. Not going to
Yeah,
lie.
it's not great.
It's
It's
not a
not
good
great.
auto. All right, we'll take a look at the ones that I've picked out, and I'm also going to a
Look
cup
at that.
auto. Look at that dual cup patch auto, rookie year, Kale McCarr, Noah Dobson, dual honorable numbers, rookie patch auto number to just 8, both on card, and just great patches overall. And again, rookie year cup patches. Oh, it's already up to $2,500. There's a couple of days left to go. Any Kale McCarr, true serious collector, will want this in their collection. That's for sure. It's a beautiful card. So that was one that I had as one to watch. A little bit out of my pay grade, but it certainly
I
is a beautiful one.
I mean, even with because I believe both Dobson and McCarr are number 8, that's
Yeah,
pretty sweet. Dual honorable numbers. I've never even seen that set before. This
that's
card
what it
seems
is. So it's the cards like out of their number.
Yeah, that is sweet.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen it actually, so I was kind of taking this all in. And you know me, I try and keep it a little bit of a surprise when I get to see your cards. So for me, Noah Dobson, I mean, a very underrated guy. Kale McCarr, we know how talented he is. $2,500, like that's a number that I'm happy to see. I'm very happy to see that number.
Yeah, well, defensemen, right? They don't often get a lot of
Correct.
love, but
Yeah.
I mean, Kale McCarr, he kind of divides all of those odds. Here's the next one that I was taking a look at. It is the Elias Pettersson FWAP Future Watch Auto Patch BGS 9 with a 10 auto grade. And the reason why I thought that it was cool is because the patch is sick. I
Little
believe that
Nike
is the
patch,
it
maybe
looks like the
Nike. I don't
eye
know.
of the orchid.
Yeah,
Or
right.
Eye of the Orca, the Eye of the Orca. I believe that's what that is, which is pretty
Yeah,
tough.
no, I don't think it's a Nike patch. I'm just kind of coming in left field with that. I think you're right,
Yeah, I
actually.
think
Yeah.
it's like the eye. You can't for funny enough, you literally can't see it in this photo because his
Yeah.
arms, but like it's like right here, I believe, is the Eye of the Orca, which is just a
Wow.
sick patch. So that's
Yeah.
kind of why this popped out to me. But yeah, a little PD flop action, $1,000. That's not too bad because I'm pretty sure if you're gonna get is I think it's over 1,000 for a PSA 10. Elias
It's
Pettersson
dropping a
Future
little
Watch.
bit. It's dropping. It's
Oh, I could
around $800 to $900 now, but still, rightfully so, should be over 1,000.
I
Should be.
could check right now to see what that's going for. Did you check? Is that why like you
I
know?
just know that someone was selling them for 925. So last week I saw, I believe his name is Sports Card Depot on Instagram. He was moving one for
Ooh.
925. So
Yeah, you're right.
I
That's
was
really
intrigued.
dropped. He's down last sale. Last sale for the PSA 10 Future Watch Auto, 794. So about
Oof.
$800. It's down
Wow.
$800 for PSA 10. Tough, 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 tough. Yeah, another one 792, 802. So $800 is about the right price for that. So I guess 800 for PSA 10 Future Watch Auto, the flop. Yeah, I guess 1,000 would make sense at
Fair.
that point. Would make a fair comparison. So those are the two cards that I checked out and that I thought looked pretty sweet. And that you can go and grab on the weekly Slab Sharks auction every Thursday evening. Check out their eBay store. We'll put the link down below as well. All right, pickups of the week. We both ended up going to a show this weekend. And what'd you pick up, Anthony?
So I picked up a couple nice cards, nothing too crazy though this week. And the cards that I put aside, so I picked up these three out of my little list of pickups. So the first one was, and I don't know why, I had this little knack going on right now where I really love nice patches, like just numbered patches. I wish this Kale McCarr was a little bit bigger with the patch, but three color patch. This one's out of 50. I ended up picking this up for a pretty sweet deal. Threw it in a one touch, and I don't know what it is. There's something about patch cards that I think people just love when they get to pick up their favorite player and say, you know what? $100 for this doesn't even sound that bad, or maybe $100 in a trade, whatever it might be. I was really happy to pick up this Makar card. I don't love how it's weirdly black and white, the photo. I thought that was a little bit weird, but I don't
Black
mind
Diamond,
picking.
right? Black Diamond.
I know, but like I don't know. I wasn't in love with that. Either way. Next up, I picked up a really nice similar, very similar. This one's out of 25 though. And it's not black and white, the photo, but also a relic out of 25, Nick Suzuki. Pick this up actually maybe like 30 seconds apart. I just kind of had my eye out for these relics all weekend, so I was pretty happy to get that. And this is definitely a card that whenever I end up traveling back to Montreal or Quebec for their sports card expo, their edition of it, which is absolutely amazing if you're ever considering traveling there. I had an awesome time going in April or May, I believe, of last year. This is an awesome card. Can't wait to bring that to Montreal. And then last but not least, ended up picking up a Matt Savoy Young Guns PSA 10. Pick this up for $50. It's pretty much on par with comps, and I think it's very fair. Like I think there's still a lot of room for his market to grow. His
Oh yeah,
Young Guns were borderline raw selling for $50, I think, when that trade happened. So
yeah, they
when he
were.
gets called up, $50 is gonna feel very cheap for this guy. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
stash it.
Especially if he's from the Edmonton area. So Edmonton area, if he ends up playing in the top 6 with McDavid or Draisaitl, yeah, I think that's a good card to own. All right, I also kind of joined the theme of having some unique cards, some low numbered stuff, and it's funny because we talked about last week how like young guns are they a little less investable? Do we kind of start to look? And actually, I have a good story about that. We can show it. We can talk about it in a sec. But
Hmm.
anyways, here's a nice jumbo Joe Thornton patch,
Oh,
number to
that's
35,
sweet. That is
30
sweet.
patch. Yeah.
Is
Now
that a Bruins?
it's from his Bruins days, and it is game used. It is a game
Man,
used patch.
nice.
Um, so they obviously got it from his Bruins days, and he's wearing a Sharks uniform. So that kind of stinks. I don't love to see that, but it's still a sick patch,
I
and
think
it's
it
low
makes it
number.
even cooler. I don't know. I think it makes
Do
it even
you?
cooler. Yeah,
Nice.
personally.
It's just because I don't know. It's blue, like everything's blue, like
Yeah,
teal blue, like San Jose, and then all of a sudden, like it would kind of look cool if the patch was also like San Jose teal, right? And it
yeah.
all color matched together, but it's got like it's just yellow, but it's part of the bear, so it is a cool patch. The patch is sick, so sick. I picked up a crossed up too, one of these crossed up super short print Easter eggs that they put out
Nice.
there in series 1 of Matt Kachuk, little crossed up Matty Kachuk. I grabbed this is a cool pickup actually. Leo Carlson, black lustrous rookies, number to 25, the gold version, number to 25. So Leo Carlson's a player I'm pretty high on. I think the kid's unbelievable. I think he's going to turn out to be quite the stud. So I've been picking up quite a bit of his stuff lately. Here's another player who's playing really, really well. Low numbered, great product. An exquisite rookie auto of your boy, Will Cooley, number to 25. Will Cooley, gold exquisite auto, number to 25. Thought that was great. Will Cooley's been unbelievable. He's got what, like 13, 14 goals so
Yeah,
far on the season.
and
Seems
he
to be
could
the
provide the
only
hits. Yeah.
Seems to be the only one in New York these days who's scoring. But this was obviously the biggest pickup that I had of the weekend. It is a Wayne Gretzky auto, clear
Ooh,
cut pride autograph, number 225. And anytime you could get Wayne in an Oilers jersey, on card auto, beautiful auto at that. Short printed to 25. There's a Canadian flag on it. Like it just has
love it.
all the elements of something that I want in my collection. This is probably going to end up in the PC. I've been looking for a very nice Wayne Gretzky autograph for the PC, and I may have got it. I got that in a trade. A few of these things were picked up. Actually, most of that stuff was picked up in a trade that I had made for my Ovechkin PSA 8 Young Guns. So that was what I get. I got the Gretzky, the Cooley, the crossed up. There was something else that was involved in it as well. Oh, a couple of other Young Guns, and then some cash on top for my Young Guns of Alex Ovechkin. So that was kind of how I came into those.
Nice.
And then I ended up picking up an Austin Matthews PSA 10 Young Guns as well that I got for a good price. It was just
it was a big weekend.
Yeah,
it was a big weekend.
It was a big weekend. It was a good weekend. I enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun. But I really quickly just want to bring up the point about that we talked about last week when it comes to margins and how the margins are so small and how it's hard to sell Young Guns. Like there was just a gentleman who came in and was trying to buy things at like 80% because he knows that he's got to make margins himself. And it's like, dude, like I'm getting them at 80%. How could I possibly sell them to you? And like he pulled out 6 or 7 different cards from my case, and he only ended up taking one of them because he needed to get them at a cheap enough price. I'm like, dude, that's my cost. Like, if not lower than my cost, I can't do it. And he's like, well, I can't do it either. And that's the issue with Young Guns. Whereas a card like this, right? The Leo Carlson Black Lustrous Rookie, go ahead, go find this somewhere. You can't find a comp on it. So you kind of have to just assume, okay, what do I think it's worth? As opposed to finding a comp and being like, this is what I could pay, and I can only pay 70% of this price. Well, you're not going to have that situation with a card like this, or the card like your Kale McCarr, nice short patches, or like that honorable numbers McCarr Dobson patch that I showed from the cup earlier, or even this Joe Thornton number to 35 nice patch that's from 2009. Like, you're just not going to find that stuff. And it's just a lot easier to get, people are more willing to pay the prices that you are asking. And like more so full price for it when there's less of them available.
I agree.
Yeah, that was just another kind of circumstance this weekend where, again, someone pulled out 7 different Young Guns and they wanted them for way too dirt cheap, like 70% of what comps are going for. I'm only getting them at like 80% myself. Sometimes when I buy them 80 to 90%, I don't have those margins. So you can't make those flips. It's tough to do. It really is tough to do if you're not grading raw and flipping yourself. That is a way where you obviously have more margin. But if you're buying graded and flipping graded, there's just not a lot there. It really is not. That's my personal opinion when it comes to Young Guns. I'm quickly learning that over the last, year and a half or so, since it's getting pretty dicey when it comes to the Young Guns market. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us here on the show. Actually, there's a lot of shows coming up this weekend. So busy, jam-packed weekend. You got the Minting Trade Night Friday. You've got 4 shows on Saturday and 3 shows on Sunday, all in the GTA. Got the Scarborough Sports Card Show, got the Cambridge Sports Card and Collectible Show, the Evolution Sports Card Show, the MSC Sports Card and TCG Show. Those are all Saturday. And then on Sunday, Scarborough Sports Card Show, Guelph Sports Cards and Pokemon Show. And then Leaside is doing their monthly sports card show as well. So jam-packed right before Christmas. If you want to get yourselves, a little gift for you or a loved one or a friend or a family member, or you want to gift your 2 favorite podcasters, Anthony and Mike, perhaps, you can head up a one last show to get that last minute Christmas shopping done. If that's what you want to do. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast, though. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube, and you can also listen to us for you on-the-go listeners over on Spotify. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.